Coming up this week, we get ready to celebrate our nation's 149th birthday, hitting the streets across Canada. This is Outburst. Hello and welcome to a special Canada Day edition of Outburst. I'm Glenn McGuinness. Well, Canadians have a great reputation around the globe, and whenever you display the Canadian flag, it's warmly received. So what is it that makes us stand out? We took to the streets across Canada with this question: what makes you proud to be a Canadian?
Because I'm a bit of a history buff, is our contribution in the war efforts, especially World War I, and what you have a non-regular army, and the things that those guys were able to do, volunteer-wise, we should be very proud of that. So
I'm proud to be a Canadian because Canada is one of the best countries in the world, and I'm proud to be a Canadian because of what it stands for, and as a whole, the country of Canada is, I think, one of the top 10.
There is the equality. Government believes in equality, whichever the government may be. But the question is, every government believing in multiculturalism.
When you actually leave the country and go to another country, whether that be the States or in Europe, the people of those countries seem to recognize the Canadians a little bit more as being a friendly culture, a polite culture. So I think those are kind of things that would make me happy to be a Canadian, that we're recognized as being a good nation.
I'm proud to be Canadian, I think because of, I guess, the diversity of the country, the kind of the tolerance and acceptance that is typically associated with the country. Again, in my opinion, what I like to see. But yeah, I think that's probably the number one kind of thing is just taking people for who they are and kind of working together towards a common goal.
What makes me proud to be Canadian? I think that it is how you're viewed worldwide. I think when you travel, you're viewed to be neutral and to be rather liberal, and I think you're viewed in a positive fashion.
You feel like you are welcomed here, and it's booming too. It's got its own thing going on. It is a little overshadowed by the States, like we said before, but I think we also have the advantage of being more just peaceful and open and diverse overall. So
beautiful country. Everybody's united and everybody is terrific here. Everybody is it's just a wonderful country to live in, better than the United States. No guns. It's a terrific country.
Cheaper healthcare or free healthcare?
I think just in general, like the privileges that we have.
Exactly.
I think that we don't realize till we hear opinion from other people from other countries, and we're just like, oh wow, we're so privileged to have all of this. And yeah, I think that's what makes me proud to be Canadian, and just how cultured we are and open-minded about a lot of things. Yeah,
I think it's our diversity. We're so many different kinds of people, and it's nice to see that we can get along. So I'm glad to be a Canadian that way.
You step off the plane and you see this wonderful sky, and in Europe you feel so claustrophobic, and there are so many nationalities, that melting pot everybody brings to it. It's not just one homogeneous society, and it reflects in the cuisine, it reflects in the fashion, it reflects in the way people behave. It's the most wonderful, very rich society that we are creating.
I come from the United States originally, and I choose to live here for political reasons. So I'm really happy to be here for all sorts of reasons. I feel like I fit in much better here in terms of my values, in terms of things like healthcare and gun control and all the classic things that most Canadians sort of disagree with Americans about.
One of the best countries to live on, and besides the politics, that's got the nicest people in the world.
the Inuit were able to negotiate a land claims agreement without any violence whatsoever. It was all negotiated, and so that's what's so great about it. It's our Queen's favorite country, so it's you know, there's lots of wide, amazing things you could see in our country.
What makes me most proud is to see, say, the Prime Minister at the airport welcoming Syrians from abroad, and it's a moment that really, I think, exemplifies who we are.
The Canadian flag, as we know it today, first flew over Parliament Hill in which year? 1945, 1955, or 1965?
1955?
Say 65. 1965.
1945.
65.
65. 1965.
65.
45.
1945.
1955.
1965.
It is 1965, sir.
Very good. Thank you.
The red and white maple leaf flag flew over Parliament Hill for the first time on February 15th, 1965. As I mentioned earlier, Canada is celebrating its 149th birthday. And for a relatively young nation, we've shared some great moments since Confederation. So we took to the streets to see what sticks out in your mind. Our question: what is the greatest moment in our nation's history?
The greatest moment in our nation's history, I would say Medicare under the Saskatchewan government and Tommy Douglas.
Patriotism after World War II was probably a really huge thing. And yeah, it would have been pretty interesting to be a fly on the wall back then to see how people behaved and reacted and supported the people who fought in that war. And compared to maybe now, it would be very interesting to see the differences. So I think that was a major point in Canadian history.
The Canada Cup, late the summer, 87, height of the Cold War. You know, I think it was maybe Howard Chuck to Gretzky, Gretzky over to Lemieux, Lemieux to Gretzky. I can't remember who finished it, but anyways, it was a pretty nice play and pretty significant to me in my upbringing. Anyways, so.
Maybe Pearson with the UN and the peacekeepers, the troops. Maybe that.
I believe when Canada was unified as one country, uniting everybody, every culture, every group together as one, and everybody considered as a Canadian, right? So that's the one I think is most important.
I would say, in my memory at least, and it's not the long history of Canada, but when we got our own flag, that was absolutely the best. And because they drew on all artists from across the country, just that sense that we had a part of it. So the flag, and that's what we see. I mean, I really love the flag. Canada Day is all about the flag to me.
In the Second World War, when we went to the war right away, way ahead of the United States, and were there for the whole of the time with our small number of people. My dad was there the whole time for 2 years. His best friend was killed beside him fighting the Germans. And I think that was just an incredible thing they did in the Second World War. And the First World War as well, for that matter.
Opening the door to accept gay marriages, creating policies to accept transgender individuals, and welcoming immigrants around the world. I think that's what makes Canada a great country.
The greatest moment in our nation's history, we were talking about this on the weekend, and I think that Vimy Ridge is probably the greatest moment in Canadian history.
I would definitely have to say Confederation, because that's when we became a nation, and that's so important, and we always have to remember the reasons why we did that and our founders, and I think that's probably something that is so important because that's when we became a nation.
There's a few of them, and I think one of them is really recent, which is our acknowledgement about how we've treated the Indigenous population in Canada. I think that's coming around as one of our greatest blunders as a country, and our recognition of it now is going to be one of our biggest achievements.
I think the right for our female population to be able to voice their vote.
Greatest moment in Canada's history would probably, oh man, that's a tough one. I would say right after World War II, when we kind of not only did our men and women contribute such a huge amount to the war efforts abroad, but we kind of gained a national identity, I think, after that event. So I don't know. I would probably say the end of World War II, V-Day would probably be one of the greatest moments in Canadian history, I would say.
For me, because I work with a lot of First Nations and Métis people, would be when we realized that some things were done incorrectly in the past and that we want to try to fix them.
I guess you could go back to like healthcare. So I think that would be with Tommy Douglas and the NDP in state universal healthcare. I think you've really got to say that because it's everything at the end of the day.
Vancouver Olympics, I personally for me is pretty cool because I think it's like the whole country came together and our athletes did so well, and I'm a sports fan too. So, but I really think it like just everybody was watching and everybody was sort of together and cheering, and it just seemed to be like a happy time when we did so well, and yeah, and Montreal Canadiens winning the Cup in '93 was good too. So.
Truth and Reconciliation. Our proudest moment.
I mean, there's many.
There are many. When the last spike, that brought the country together. The space arm with the word Canada on it, which I've always loved seeing that word. I can't think of one. It's interesting that I can't think of one that there are many that stand out for me.
What was Canada Day formerly known as? Confederation Day, Dominion Day, or National Day? Confederation Day, Dominion Day, or National Day?
Dominion Day.
Ooh. Let's say Dominion Day as well.
Ooh, National.
Confederation Day?
Federation Day?
I'm going to say National Day.
I'm going to say Dominion Day.
Because what?
Just because it's different than those two.
I'll go with Confederation Day.
I'll go with Confederation Day as well.
Ooh, it's Dominion Day, wasn't it?
I'd say Dominion Day.
Yeah,
Dominion Day. Dominion Day. It's Dominion Day.
Hey!
On October 27th, 1982, July 1st, which was previously known as Dominion Day, became Canada Day. Canada is, of course, known as a peacekeeping nation. Plus, our involvement in 2 world wars, the Korean War, and Afghanistan has earned us respect around the world that goes back decades. But as the world changes, has Canada been able to keep up its positive image? We took to the streets across the country with this question: how do other nations view Canada?
I think we're seen in a pretty positive light around the world. I mean, peacekeeping efforts, obviously what we've done in other countries. I mean, we're not America, which to a lot of countries is a pretty good thing. I mean, you wear a Canadian flag on your back in a European country and you're treated pretty good. You wear an American flag, you're probably going to get ignored or less so. So I think that itself just speaks of how your average person in other countries views Canada. So no, I think we've got a pretty good reputation.
Sometimes I wonder if we're looked at as the little brother still. Is the comparison relative to the Americans. Sometimes I get concerned about that. I think the New Zealanders have the same problem with the Australians, as they're looked at as the little brother. So, but for the most part, I think it's a positive view. I think they feel that we have a lot of contributions or have contributed a lot. So,
I think in a very positive light, the very fact that immigrants and refugees from all over the world want to come here says something.
We're helpful. People like us. I get a kick out of the stories you hear about Americans sticking Canadian flags on their luggage and things to get better treatment, and then getting even worse treatment when people find out that they're faking it. But it's just, we treat people as equals. Doesn't matter where we go, what we do. That's the perception that we have, that we treat you the way that you like to be treated and the way we want to be treated.
They see us as a very friendly place. They want to come here. They want to visit. And I think we've got a lot of respect around the world, which is great.
As a park, it's especially BC. BC is paradise. And that's why everybody comes here.
Very friendly.
Very friendly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing but friendly people since we've gotten here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Even traveling in other parts of the world, when you meet Canadians, they're always very friendly and outgoing.
I think they see it pretty good, but of course, they think it's way out in the wilderness somewhere.
People tend to view us as kind of a bit of sympathetic towards a lot of different causes. We're very, there's always that polite sorry for everything factor, I guess. But other than that, I think they'd probably see we're a lot of good hockey players. But a big thing I think about Canada is that people would view us as a very multicultural country.
Well, I'd say, since I've done a lot of international work on climate change, that we've generally had there's a positive view of who we are as Canadians, but some real angst about our unwillingness to take our fair share responsibility for our contribution to climate change and to do something about it. So I think people respect us as a people. They think we're kind and friendly and generous, but selfish as well when it comes to not taking the appropriate role and doing our fair share.
Canada, as I always said, the nicest people in the world come from Canada. I come from Australia, as I said. We're probably the second nicest people. I will take that.
I would say they view Canada as fair. And that's one thing that I love about Canada, is that we look out for each other. Our system, our social system, the network we've created for supports, the fact that we pay taxes to help the country run. We help people who may not make as much money so that they can have a standard of living that keeps them healthy and keeps them participating in life.
I think we're slowly but surely getting back to being the peacekeeper. We're getting back to being stewards of the environment. We're getting back to being that patchwork quilt, not a melting pot. And I think we're slowly but surely getting to be the culture that values what we all care about, and that is the future, our children, our environment, our air, our quality water, etc. When we start to look at things like our Aboriginal, the challenges that our Aboriginal peoples are going through, and we recognize them, and we're starting to assist and starting to actually make a difference for other people, I think we're back to being what, to me, is a great Canadian, and that is somebody that cares.
Honestly, I'm looking for the right word right now. People really love Canada, especially back at home. I'm from India. Yep, namaste. Everybody loves Canada. There's not one thing bad. People, which people say. It's everyone loves Canada.
They're stereotypical. All the Canadians are so nice, and it's cold up there, and there's nobody that lives up here. There's all live in igloos and play hockey with polar bears. That's stereotypical.
In my travels, at least, people are curious about who we are and why is it that we are able to accept people from so many different lands and still remain a country. I think a lot of countries have trouble with that these days. There's more and more growing fractious lines between people, and I think it's what makes people curious about who we are.
Okay, so what's a birthday celebration without some well wishes from some of your closest friends? And Canada has about 30 million. So as we travel from east to west, we give you the opportunity to wish this country all the best. Our question: what is your birthday message to Canada?
Other than happy birthday, I don't know. What do I want to say to Canada?
It's my brother's birthday too.
Is it?
Okay.
But Canada is more important.
A little bit.
Canada, I like you more than I like my brother.
My birthday message to Canada is probably just do what you guys are doing. Believe me, you guys have it sorted and you guys have your act together. Believe me, that's the way forward.
Oh, keep looking to the future. Keep always looking to be better than we are. Not be afraid to be world leaders where we can be. And keep our uniqueness. Keep our sort of devotion to continuously being this melting pot that's welcoming to our First Canadians and our founders, as well as anybody who comes to the country. So,
happy birthday and long survival for Canada. Happiness, that's all. Happiness for all Canadians. Happy birthday, Canada.
Thank you so much for being you, and many, many blessings, and happy birthday.
Continue being the way we are, smiling, happy, giving, I would say, happy birthday to all of us.
We can do anything. We can do anything, and we need to be more giving in terms of grasping the future and changing our country so that we're a positive force in the world.
Excellent. And how would you say happy birthday?
I would just say that we always need to stay proud, and Canada's a great place, and we need to really show our pride on Canada Day.
Keep it strong and free. Keep it open. Keep it open mind toward different culture.
Well, happy birthday to the most beautiful country on earth. We're a young country, but we've got lots of promise in our future. So here's to many more.
My birthday message for Canada and Canadians is to think about the Truth and Reconciliation Commission report that came out this past year, and remember that when you're celebrating Canada. Remember our First Nations and Métis peoples, and make sure that we celebrate Canada with their inclusion.
Happy birthday, Canada. Keep up the good work. Keep being a shining beacon to the world.
My birthday message to Canada is I'm very proud of you. Keep doing what you're doing, and let's not lose sight of the fact that we are special. We're a mix of European with influences from the States, and I think we're wonderful. So happy birthday.
I hope that our country continues to live under the principles and foundations that it was founded on, and I wish Canada all the best.
Happy birthday, Canada. Yeah, keep doing it. Keep doing what you're doing. I feel that we're the best nation in the world, and I think we just need to keep on doing what we're doing.
Oh, I'm always happy to welcome the Canada Day, because I just became Canadian 2 years ago, so I'm very happy to be a part of the Canada.
Happy birthday, Canada. You're a wonderful country where people from all walks of life are welcome, a really diverse and a tolerant and a peaceful country. And I really, really wish you a happy birthday.
My word, of course. Happy birthday, Canada, July the 1st, isn't it? Yes, it's a wonderful country. And I say, when I die, if I don't go to heaven, it doesn't matter. I've already been there in Canada.
When was the maple leaf officially approved as our national emblem? 1891, 1921, or 1961? 1891, 1921, or 1961?
1891, 1961,
21, 1961,
21, 1921,
1961,
1961. I was going to say 1961 as well.
1961,
1921.
I'll go 1921.
You're both absolutely correct. Very good. High five, please. Oh, with me too, sure. Each other now. On November 21st, 1921, King George V authorized the use of the maple leaf as Canada's national emblem. That's all for this episode of Outburst. Just a reminder, don't forget to check out our new CPAC TV To Go app and our CPAC Quiz Canada Trivia app. For more information, check our website, www.cpac.ca. I'm Glenn McGuinness, and on behalf of all my colleagues at the Cable Public Affairs Channel, thanks for watching and have a safe and happy Canada Day.